With this video, we would like to share with you a living treasure, the gos d'atura català, or the Catalan sheepdog, part of our nation's natural heritage, a breed closely tied to our roots and customs, and inextricably linked to the culture and history of the Catalan nation. Unlike many dog breeds that we see nowadays, breeds that are relatively new and have been selected or even manufactured by man, the Catalan sheepdog has taken many centuries to evolve into the animal we see today, and was selected on the basis of its ability to herd livestock, cows, sheep, geese and other farm animals. The origins of the Catalan sheepdog can be traced back through the many population movements, migrations and invasions that Catalonia has seen over the centuries, and present-day breeders have tried, and in large measure succeeded, in keeping the Catalan sheepdog true to those origins. As we can see, a Catalan sheepdog today and one from the beginning of the 20th century hardly differ. In the 1970s, the number of purebred registered Catalan sheepdogs in this country was very, very low. Among dog lovers and in the dog world, which at that time was in its infancy and much less well established than in some other European countries, the breed was in fact verging on extinction. 40 years of harsh dictatorship had left us at a disadvantage within Europe, even in the dog world. Fortunately, even though farming was in decline at this time, traditional systems of husbandry still existed in the countryside on family-run farms, where dogs were used to move livestock to pastures or to drinking spots, or to drive flocks along the transhumance routes to the lush pastures of the Pyrenees in the hot summer months. Fortunately, around this time some breed enthusiasts, at first individually and later after the club was formed as an entity, committed to scouring the countryside in and around members' home counties looking for Catalan sheepdogs. Most of the animals found were from the Empordà region, the Garrotxa, Pla de l'Estany, Selva, Ripollès, Osona, Berguedà and Solsonès, although from time to time good examples of the breed were found in practically every corner of Catalonia. What's for sure is that there are many, many centuries of history reflected in that noble, rascally gaze so characteristic of the gos d'atura català. The first Catalan sheepdog standard was published in 1929 and was based on two of the best examples of the breed around at that time, Tac and Iris. The gos d'atura, a native breed from Catalonia, is an active, intelligent, hardy dog with simple basic needs and a pleasant character. He's devoted to the shepherd and to the flock entrusted to him. He keeps his distance from strangers, which can make him seem somewhat standoffish. He adapts to both hot and cold climates. He eats frugally. His true essence is demonstrated when he is working with the herds. Not only does he do what his shepherd tells him, but he often takes his own decisions on how to best drive the animals. He's courageous and brave, making him a great guard dog. His strong sense of loyalty makes him an excellent companion. His versatility is demonstrated in the various jobs he does today, including looking for truffles, taking part in search and rescue operations, and providing complementary therapy for adults and children. The Catalan sheepdog is a medium-sized breed. Males range in height from 47 to 55 centimetres at the withers and are slightly taller than the females, who stand at between 45 and 53 centimetres. Both dogs and bitches must be within these height standards, ideally somewhere in the middle of the range. The proportions of the Catalan sheepdog are 9 to 8, which makes him slightly longer than he is tall. It is accepted that bitches are a little longer than dogs. In both cases, they are well formed with a beautiful coat. The head is in proportion to the body. The neck is powerful, solid, muscular and rather short, but such that allows for good mobility. The head is set firmly on the shoulders. The overall impression is of a slightly long, strong, muscular dog that exudes strength and agility. The withers are clearly visible. The top line is straight, never saddle-backed, and the croup is on the same line or very slightly lower than the withers. The head is strong, slightly convex and broad at the base without giving the impression of heaviness. The head-muzzle proportion is 4:3. Males have a stronger, wider head than bitches. The ears are set high, but not so much that they cannot hang close to the sides of the head. The skull is slightly longer than wide, and there is a clearly marked furrow in the first third, which flattens out to the occipital bone where there is a crest. The occipital bone is prominent. The upper profile of the skull shows that it is slightly domed, and there may be a short, less pronounced base in the middle. The frontal sinuses are well developed, both lengthways and sideways, and the superciliary arches are prominent. The stop is clearly visible, but not too prominent. The muzzle is straight, rather short, and is a truncated pyramid shape. The nose is straight, in proportion to the head, black and broad. The lips are quite large, tightly fitting, almost straight, and the lower lip does not hang. They are strongly pigmented with black, as is the palate. They have good-sized, strong, white, healthy teeth, which close in a scissor bite, although a pincer bite is also accepted. The eyes are wide open and expressive, and he has an alert, intelligent gaze. The eyes are round, dark amber in colour, and they have black rims. The ears are set high, but not exaggeratedly so, and they are thin and pointed in shape. The cartilage is supple and not thick, thus allowing the ears to hang close to the sides of the head and to have good mobility. They are covered in long hair with fringes at the end. The ear width-length ratio is 8:10. Now let's take a look at the body, most importantly at the appearance of the withers and the back. As mentioned previously, the withers must be clearly visible, and the top line should be straight. If there is a lot of a coat and undercoat, at first glance the croup may seem to be higher, in which case one must go over the dog to make sure that the croup is correct. It should be strong, muscular, and very slightly sloping. The ribs are well sprung, not flat. The belly is slightly tucked up, with short, strong, well-marked flanks. The chest is wide and well developed, and reaches to the level of the elbows. The tail is rather low set and reaches slightly beyond the hock. At rest it just hangs, forming a hook shape at the end. Sabre tails are also accepted. Either way, the tail is covered with plenty of slightly wavy hair. When the dog is moving, the tail is raised gaily, but never rolled over the croup. let's take a look at the forequarters. The front limbs are strong, solid, straight and parallel, seen from both the front and in profile. The forequarters must not make the paws turn either inwards or outwards. The distance between the elbow and the withers is about the same as between the elbow and the ground. The shoulders are strong, muscular and slightly sloping. The upper arm is strong and muscular, and the elbows are parallel, are turned neither inwards nor outwards, and are held close to the body. The forearm is straight and strong. The scapular-humeral angle is about 110 degrees, and the humeral radial angle is about 135 degrees. The carpus, or carpal joint, and the metacarpus, or pastern, follow the same straight line of the forearm and are rather short. The feet are oval-shaped, and the pads are black and hard, with noticeable interdigital membranes which are well covered with hair. The nails are black and strong. Double dew claws on the front are accepted. Now let's have a look at the hindquarters. They are strong-looking, muscular and parallel, giving the impression of power and agility. The thighs are long, broad and muscular with strong bones. Both the coxal femoral angle and the femoral tibial angle are approximately 120 degrees. The legs have strong bones and muscles. The hocks are low, straight and parallel with an angle of about 140 degrees. The metatarsus, or rear pastern, is quite short, strong and vertical to the ground. The hind feet are the same as the front feet, but they must have a double-boned dew claw on each leg. These dew claws must be low set and joined both together and to the first toe of the foot by interdigital membranes. In movement, the gostatura displays the light, supple gait typical of sheepdogs. The most used gait is the short trot, while the gallop is reserved for large spaces. When working with the herds, the Catalan sheepdog has 3 speeds, 4 if we include the walk. There is the sustained natural trot, which we could call the short trot. Then, as his speed increases and before the gallop begins, he lengthens his reach to cover more ground with each step in order to go faster than the flock. The skin is quite thick and fits tightly to the head and body. It is well pigmented. The coat is long and either straight or very slightly wavy, but in either case with a rough texture. There is a thick undercoat, especially on the posterior third of the body. There is a beard, a moustache, a toupee, and tufted eyebrows which do not hide the eyes. The tail is covered with plenty of hair, as are all the limbs. The first published standard in 1929 mentioned the short-haired Catalan sheepdog known as the cerdà. The characteristics of the cerdà are the same as those of the long-haired Catalan, apart from his having short hair on the head and the limbs. The hair on the rest of the body is more or less long. The cerdà is rarely seen in the show ring, but is still commonly used by shepherds to drive flocks. Let's turn to the colours of the Catalan sheepdog. They can be grey, ranging from silver grey to charcoal grey, and we can also find grey mixed with white and reddish hairs. They can be black and tan. They can be sable, ranging in tones from light to dark. And they can be fawn, ranging from a straw colour to a darker reddish fawn. The muzzle and ears of sable and fawn dogs must be well pigmented with darker or black hair. Seen from a distance, the dog seems to be unicolor, often with lighter tones on the limbs. But on closer inspection, the coat can be seen to be made up of a mixture of hairs of different colours and tones. It's been more than 8 decades since Tack and Iris, and we continue to breed along the same lines. Because despite the more than 80 years that have elapsed, the Catalan sheepdog of today is remarkably similar to the 2 examples of the breed on which the first standard of 1929 was based. We must strive to continue to keep the Catalan sheepdog faithful to its origins, and to avoid the temptation to modify the breed in any way, but in particular with regards to the coat, as any attempt to sophisticate this changes and detracts from the image of the Gostatura Català, authentic, rustic and undeniably beautiful.